there and welcome to Open House. And have we got a great lineup for you today? You've seen a bit of it there. But we're going to be celebrating the 21st anniversary of The Snowman, the charming story of a young boy's adventure with his magic friend. Joining us will be Howard Blake, the man who brought us this classic song.
We're walking in the air, we're floating in the moonlit sky. The people far below are sleeping as we fly.
It's my little girl's favourite. We've also got the star of the cult 60s show The Champions, actress Alexandra Bastille, who's currently using her talents to champion the cause of keeping dogs healthy. Then more of our DIY series for beginners, that's Wendy's House. So if you want to get your house all ship-shape for Christmas, today we're going to be showing you how to revamp your kitchen cabinets on the cheap. And then, I suppose, emptying the cabinets in our kitchen, we've got Sally. Sal, what's the recipe today?
I'm doing a layered white chocolate gâteau with frosted flowers for Christmas.
Oh, do you know, I think I've just died and gone to heaven. That sounds fantastic. Now, when I see a tiny spider or a snake, I just have to run a mile. I can't help myself. But not our next guest. In his current TV series, Giants, he actually seeks out the largest and often the most dangerous animals in the world. He's been swimming with man-eating sharks and wrestling with huge pythons. He just seems to have absolutely no fear at all. Either that or he's stark raving mad. Well, here he is in a tamer moment, trying to pull the birds.
These specially trained birds are used to having jockeys on their backs, but I'm not specially trained, and they don't slow down for beginners.
Please welcome Nigel Marven and a couple of his friends.
I see you. Hello.
Nice to see you. Do you know, you're an absolute glutton for punishment. How fast was that ostrich going?
They can go at 40 miles an hour, do the London Marathon in half an hour. So you have to, like, put your legs around the top of their legs and hold on to their wings, and if they go full pelt, you just fall off within seconds.
But how mad do you have to be to want to be in a TV series about that sort of thing?
No, I'm not that mad. I've grown up with animals and I've always caught lizards since I was a little boy, and snakes, and I don't consider anything that I've done that's, you know, been dangerous. I mean, the great white sharks was exciting. Have a 20-foot great white shark swimming straight at you with that great smiling mouth and those great teeth.
You are absolutely joking. That wasn't dangerous. Is that what you're saying? It wasn't dangerous at all?
No, because as soon as you watch them, they've got very sensitive eyes and they're careful about what they bite. They don't want to get injured, and they don't want to feed on us. We haven't got enough fat. They want things with blubber like seals and sea lions. So, you know, I could just swim with it and I wasn't worried at all.
Why did you decide to do a series on giant animals? I mean, there's so many themes that you could pick on. Why giant ones?
Because you know, I've watched all these shows and I've made the shows at the Natural History Unit for the last 12 years, and you never get an idea of how big animals are in natural history programmes. But if you've got me there for scale, it's a good excuse, and we can make a money spider look like a monster. But if you've got me there and you've got a spider with a 10-inch leg span crawling over my face, there's no doubt how big it actually is.
You know, we did say at the top of the item there that you're with a couple of your friends. Well, we've obviously seen this gorgeous creature on here, but hiding down here is another one of his friends, and I could just imagine you as a horrible little boy, as you say.
Yeah, no,
enjoying this so much.
It would be awful if the marabou stalk at the tarantula, so I'm going to be very careful because they're. She's preening, so she's totally.
Well, we haven't had a real proper look at you actually. Could that beak be quite nasty? Could she have a go at me?
No. This was born in captivity in a zoo in Czechoslovakia, and friends of mine hand-reared it, a guy called Tony Bloom, and we took it to Trafalgar Square. So there's a scene in the film where it follows me through Trafalgar Square, and you see this in comparison to pigeons. I mean, it is a giant, you know, and it's stands 4 feet tall, and that wingspan, they can have a 12-foot wingspan. I mean, it is extraordinary.
Did you see a bit of yourself in this bird?
Well, yeah, I love them. I mean, they've been sort of had bit parts in natural history films, but I love nature's oddities. And you read things and they say they're the ugliest bird in the world, they're tall and they're gangling, but my headmaster put that on my school report, so I know how they feel. Not that I was ugly, but I was tall and gangling, and it hasn't done me any harm.
Oh, lovely. It's lovely. But could we just sort of move her aside a wee bit? Because I do want to have a look.
I think if I hold the tarantula there, she'd be all right, 'cause she's preening. There we are.
Go on then. Now, I've been dared. I've been dared here. Now, tell me about this tarantula.
This is a beautiful pink-toed tarantula. It's got lovely iridescent... You see little pink ankle socks.
Oh!
And I say it's in it...
She's fallen on the floor. Are we insured for tarantulas with broken legs? This could be expensive.
They live in the trees, you see, so they jump really well. And there's a scene in the film where it's jumped from a tree into a river, and they can swim beautifully. So I go for a midnight swim with a tarantula.
Oh! I don't mean to be dramatic, but I am. I can't help it.
Should we try again? One more time?
Ah!
There we are, look at that. Brilliant.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, please don't let it walk up my sleeve. Please don't. Oh, it thinks it's a tree. Look, it thinks it's a tree on my cuff, doesn't it?
There we go. Let's calm down now. But I say they don't get much bigger than this, but they've got these lovely pink toes and lovely iridescence.
Gosh.
And I say they live in the... Oh! They're really good at jumping. I mean, for me, they're more like a sort of monkey than a spider. They're fantastic. Everyone says, why do you hate spiders? They say, because they've got long, hairy legs. and they can run fast, but an Irish wolfhound can do that, and people still like those.
That's true, but you're not frightened that they're going to disappear down your shirt or, you know, or that sort of thing, are you?
No.
Did you enjoy this making... Because you've been making documentaries for all of those years. Did you enjoy suddenly being before the camera? Do you enjoy that?
Not really. I mean, I do now, but it was very nerve-wracking at the start. You know, my wife is Jenny Hull. She did How Do They Do That? So she encouraged me to do it and said, you know, you're a bit of an eccentric. We've got a house full of pythons and monitor lizards at home. But, you know, it was a bit nerve-wracking. It's much more nerve-wracking than swimming with a great white shark being in front of a camera, really. But now I'm used to it and it's great fun.
What about that? You know, you're all set up with your camera and suddenly, you know, something might appear behind you, because that happened to you with the bears, didn't it?
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen, but it is a great...
You spoiled it for me now.
Yeah, no, I knew that was happening, but it is a... that was absolutely thrilling when the... Just ruffling his
behave
wings.
over there. Shall we have a look? Shall we have a look at the bear?
Yes, yeah, this is a lovely animal, this is. The biggest brown bears of all are found on Alaska's Kodiak Island. They're still hunted there for trophies, and it's very, very difficult to get close to them. But... this is Coda. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia. This is a famous film star. He's been in 5 films, loads of commercials, feels absolutely muscular. This is absolutely fantastic. But he looks big now, but watch this. What a majestic creature. But believe it or not, there's another bear that grows a full 2 foot, 60 centimetres taller than Coda does.
Go.
That was, you know...
Go on, he'd have your hand off as soon as look at you,
solid muscle, and then when it stood up, I mean, you could see how... I mean, I'm 6'2". I mean, it looked absolutely massive, and you just don't get a feeling of how big things are unless, you know, I'm there. There
must have been some scary moments, though, during your filming.
I think, you know, swimming with the great white shark, in the final, or the penultimate programme, I go with Komodo dragons. They're the biggest lizards in the world, 10 feet long, and they were tearing apart a water buffalo carcass and twisting off, and they've got teeth like crocodiles. And I was laying on my stomach watching them, and then suddenly they turned and started walking towards me, and it was like having a dinosaur walk towards you. That was quite a scary moment, but you know, it's great fun. I just loved it. I have to pinch myself that I'm actually doing something that I love so much.
Did you learn that, because you have got all this experience and you know you have a degree in zoology and all of that? Did you learn a lot from doing it?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, so they did a book with the series as well, which is, you know, jam-packed with facts that we couldn't get in the television programme. And I thought it was going to be boring, like the Guinness Book of Records, this is it, the biggest, you know, whatever. But there's, you know, amazing facts. You know, male polar bear, that's the final programme. They get twice the size of a female because they have to fight for females in the breeding season. The marabou stork, you know, I love them, but I didn't know that they could have a 14-foot wingspan. The biggest spider, the Goliath tarantula, the one that crawled over my face, had a leg span of...
Stop Stop it, stop it,
10
stop it,
inches,
stop
that's
it.
as big as a dinner plate.
I cannot.
Which was fantastic.
No, OK, Nigel, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a giant round of applause, please, for Nigel Marven.
Thank you very much.
You know, I never thought we were going to get through that. Coming up after the break, Alexandra Bastille, former star of the cult show The Champions. She takes a lead with a new book about keeping your dog healthy, normal-sized dogs. And Sally Mansfield leads us astray with a delicious chocolate white gateau. We'll see you soon.
Let that set up. Put it in the fridge and then have a go at it again and keep coating it over. And just use a children's sort of brush. You don't need to go buying anything special for that. And then with this cake, all you do then is put on the a little bit of the roses, a little bit of the leaves, and a little sparkly ribbon.
That is beautiful.
And away you go. And I think there's enough there for all the audience, all the crew, and all of us. I think that'll last for quite some time.
No, I have to disagree. That is enough for my husband and the end of it. Sally, that is absolutely wonderful. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
When she was a little girl, our next guest couldn't quite decide whether she wanted to be an actress or a vet. So first she tried acting, quickly finding fame in the hit TV show The Champions. Do you remember? Each week they used to use their superpowers to fight the world of international espionage. Then, after many successful stage and screen appearances, she turned her attention to caring for animals. And now, with a book full of pet recipes and tips to help your dog stay fit and healthy, please would you welcome the pets champion, Alexandra Bastille. My hands are a bit sticky in the throat. That's all right. No number whatsoever of calories in that pet. It's fantastic. Now, I have to take the mickey a little bit, Alexandra. You know, a recipe book for dogs. Well, you know, dogs eat leftovers, they eat dog meat, they eat the odd biscuits and chocolate drop, don't they?
Well, they do, and I have to say circumstances alter cases, because when I'm on holiday and there's starving strays around, I feed them whatever I can lay my hands on. So, as I said, circumstances. But if you have a pet dog that is a member of your household and you want it to be fit and well and live a long life, then that's different. And,
so what sort of stuff do you feed your dogs?
Well, predominantly organic. And I'm very interested the way that things have gone with human food, because we all have been told to look at the small print. And I say with dog food, please look at the small print, because recently I got quite annoyed. I was behind somebody in the checkout at a supermarket, and this lady had a tin of dog food, and it said, chunks in meaty gravy. And I said, do you know what's in that tin? And she said, no. So I said, well, look at it. So she looked at it, and it said 4% animal derivatives. And, I mean,
so you don't know what the rest
you don't know what you're feeding your dog, basically.
But on the other hand, you know, most of us can't afford to eat organically ourselves. So how on earth can we afford to feed our pets organically?
Well, even if you're not feeding organically, and as I have my reasons for wanting to do that, because at the time when the BSE thing started, that food was also going into poultry, and I had chickens that were falling about, and I will never know whether that was BSE or not. But since then, I have decided that I want to know what I'm feeding my animals, and if I'm feeding them organically, then I know what I'm feeding.
So expensive but worth it?
I think so. And the other thing is that if you consider that most of the time the food that you're buying in tins is 4%, that's a very expensive way of buying, say, chicken or lamb. And if you actually were to go out and buy the ingredients and cook en masse and freeze, it would be a much more economical way of doing things.
Do you know, I had to smile. One of the lovely recipes in the book, I think it's called Rufus's Roast, and it's got steak in it. It's got all kinds of lovely things.
Well, humans can eat these.
I think you'd have to stop humans from eating this one. They'd be pushing the dog away from the bowl. But this one, I thought, you know, dogs have a tendency to bad breath anyway, don't they? And this one's got garlic in it. Can you imagine? Dog recipe with garlic in it.
If you're feeding your dog incorrectly, it will have bad breath. Garlic has all kinds of wonderful advantages. One is that bugs don't like it, so fleas and things may be more likely to bite the animal, and also worms and things like that. It's supposed to keep that under control as well.
But you do have good, solid reasons for wanting to treat your animals with supplements, with you know, to take that extra bit of TLC, don't you?
Well, I do. I have 180 animals, and for me to actually be splurging out on antibiotics and steroids and that sort of thing the whole time would be very expensive. But I have to say, a friend of mine said recently that, you know, when you have that number of animals, you must expect the odd death. And until then, I was sort of taking every death as a personal defeat. And most of our animals, I have to say, my cats average about 18 now, because I've been doing this for 20 years. And the donkeys are very, everything's getting pretty old.
But this is what you think back. I mean, you're obviously a woman who, I don't know, can split herself easily in two. In that you had all the glamour. You were at Hollywood when you were 16, and yet you've got this obviously very, very loving and caring side to you. But take us back. How did you end up in Hollywood at only 16?
Well, I won a competition to find the teenage diplomat for Great Britain, and that was organised by Columbia Pictures and the Evening News, which is now the Evening Standard. And they picked me for some obscure reason out of 4,000 girls, and I was sent there with my mother, and I made a film, and I met all the stars of the time, which was sort of Charlton Heston and various people like that. And it did turn my head a bit, because when I came back, my parents said, right, you're going back to school. And I said, but Columbia Pictures offered me a 7-year contract. Alfred Hitchcock wants me to do a film. And they said, no, you're going back to school. So I did go back to school.
That must have been quite a...
It was
you must have been livid.
I mean, I see their reasons, because obviously to leave a 16-year-old in California would have been total disaster, I think. But as it happened, I then applied for university, to Manchester University, and got in, but also got offered a part doing the Count of Monte Cristo on television. And I decided to take that. I was in such a hurry to act. And the only way I could really have animals during my acting period was to... my flat, every single room had gurgling fish tanks, because that was really the only thing I could sort of leave behind and entrust somebody to cope with. And I also started my love of Dobermans at that time because of stalkers, various problems like that. And I've had them ever since.
And they've looked after you. I remember the Champions with great affection. I used to absolutely adore it. It must have been a happy time for you, was it? Or was it a bit scary?
It was hard work. I mean, we did it for a year and 3 months, and you know, one was up at 6 a.m. every morning on the set, made up, and the hair took forever because it was all back-combed and sort of way up.
It was big. It was big hair you had, wasn't it?
And so you're on the set working at 8:30 and would finish 5:30, 8:30, often work a 6-day week. And then when you got home, you had to wash your hair all over again. And I used to take out about 100 hairpins every night too, which is not the fashion now. So I remember getting quite tired doing it.
And then it was onto the stage really after that, wasn't it?
I then, because I sort of was discovered, so to speak, rather early on, I decided I'd better learn about acting. So after I did that, I went to Derby Rep and started doing proper acting. Yes.
But you know, the thing that really surprises me, you were, you know, at the height of everything, you were only 33, and you just said, I've had enough. How did that happen?
I had enough because I'd done too much, really. I had an apartment in Toronto, an apartment in Spain, and one in England. And I think it was Hemingway who said, the more homes you have, the less you feel at home. And I was getting exhausted. I mean, really, and mentally exhausted by it too. Physically, human beings, I think, really, in the long term, like repetition. And I was jetting around all over the place. So I really came to a point where I was having a nervous crisis, and decided then that I would come back to live properly in England. And then I met up with my husband, who I'd known many, many years previously, Patrick Garland, and we got married, and he shortly after that got the job of running the Chichester Festival Theatre. And because of that, we bought this farmhouse, arrived with 2 animals, and I filled it up with 180.
Well, you look the picture of health. You look very happy. You obviously made the right decision. Alexandra, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, after the break, we'll be looking at the condition that makes children lose control and parents possibly lose their patience. That's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. We'll see you then in a few minutes.